Hey kids, it's Grandmaster Ben Finegold here with Kid Chess. So I like to show great wins of the world champions. One of my favorite world champions who doesn't get a lot of credit is Boris Spassky. Boris Spassky is actually still alive. I think he's about 85 years old. Doesn't play chess anymore. Problem with Boris Spassky for the general public is he's famous for losing to Bobby Fischer. So Fischer-Spassky 1972 is one of the most famous World Chess Championship matches. So Spassky is well known to the general public for losing. But obviously he was world champion before Fischer beat him. Now this game was played about 10 years before Spassky was world champion, and he's playing a Soviet grandmaster who's a very strong player. And in fact, he was the coach of other world champion and grandmasters like Spassky. Okay, so there's several interesting things in this game. They start off playing a fianchetto for black. And I've played this position with black myself. Except in this position, Spassky played a really unusual move. One that probably your chess coaches would tell you not to play. He played the move knight h6, putting his knight on the side. And you're like, why did he do that? Well, you're going to see why he did that. Eventually, he wants his knight to go to the center in this direction, which takes a while. Although actually, it didn't take very long. Okay, so this is the game. And now he played the move f5. And if the knight was on f6, the normal square, then the f pawn can't move. So this activates his rook, it activates his knight, and it's attacking white center. And often you want to take pawns on the side of the board and attack the center pawns and get rid of your opponent's center. Okay, and after taking on f5, Spassky made an incredible move, a move that would be really hard for me to consider, but now that I see it, it makes perfect sense. Instead of taking back with the knight, which would be the normal move, he took the knight on d4 with the bishop. This is really unusual. And now white has a choice. Should he take this knight or take the bishop? Either one's fine. The computer actually thinks he should take this one, and then obviously black would take this, and black's threatening f2 already. Very interesting position. But instead, white played bishop takes this bishop, and now knight takes f5. Now we can see why Spassky played knight h6. He wants to go to f5. That's a good square for the knight. And now white's already under attack, and black's rook has this open file. Pretty good. Okay, we don't want to play bishop e3 and let him take the bishop. So he played bishop c5, d6 attacking the bishop, and the bishop went and it hides in the corner. Side of the board, not a good square for the bishop. Not very good. Knight f to d4, that's a great square for the knight. It opens up the rook, and it opens up the bishop. So this is already a nice position for black. Castles finally, bishop f5. Spassky gets all of his pieces out. Maybe his knight's going to go to c2. So white played rook c1. Okay, now that black has all of his pieces out, he has to figure out what to do with his major pieces. A lot of the mistakes that students and beginners and novice players make is they move the same piece every move. They don't get their other pieces out. Grandmasters get all their pieces out. So you can see white castled, white moved his bishop, his knight, his other bishop, his rook. Black castled, black moved his pieces, but black didn't move these two pieces yet. And he decided, instead of putting his rook on the open line, he's going to put both of his rooks on this open line. So he played queen to d7, getting out of the way of his rook, knight d5. Then he doubled the rooks. Okay, now his rooks are on the same file. That's called doubling on the open file. In this case, it's a half open file. An open file has no pawns on it. A half open file means you have no pawns and your opponent has a pawn. Rooks like open and half open files because rooks can move up and down. If there's a pawn, they can't move up very much. So you see this rook on c1, it can't go here, 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 because it's blocked by a pawn. These rooks aren't blocked by any pawns. And you'll see that's how black wins later, because the rooks can get really active. Okay, white suffered enough with his bishop on a3. He played bishop b2, getting on this nice diagonal, also attacking the knight. Spassky defended his knight, played e5. Now his knight's pretty well cemented there. And white played b4, advancing on the queen's side. Maybe he'll play b5. Bishop e6, getting out of the way of the rooks. Bishop to d3. And now Spassky played bishop to g4, attacking the queen, and white made the losing move. It's a very surprising losing move because it looks really reasonable. What white should do is move his queen, although black has the advantage because black's pieces are in white's position. He's got the double rooks on the f-file. His queen and bishop have a battery, so black's better. Instead, he played f3, thinking Spassky would move his bishop away. But Spassky has so many pieces on the king side, he can sacrifice and attack white's king because all of black's pieces are over there. So he played the brilliant bishop takes f3, crashing through white's position. That's the kind of player Spassky was. He was a great attacking player. G takes f3, knight takes f3 check. The knight attacks the king, the queen's coming in, the rooks are doubled, and these pieces aren't doing a good job defending white's king. Okay. White played king h1. Black threatened checkmate with queen h3. And now white made another mistake. And the reason it's a mistake is Spassky played an amazing move that his opponent just didn't see. I don't blame him. Obviously, you have to stop mate. Okay. And the best way to stop mate is queen e2. But white chose rook f2, defending mate this way. And this is unfortunate because we need that rook. Okay, that rook's defending mate, but these rooks are also on that rook. So that rook is going to get in trouble. And now Spassky made the only winning move, but it's an amazing move. Even for a grandmaster, this would be a hard move to find, but Spassky was a future world champion. You can pause the video, see if you can find the winning move for black. It's truly incredible. Okay, so you want to move the knight, then you have a discovered attack on the rook. And the best square to move the knight, strangely, is knight e1. An amazing move. And now white gave up. The engine says white's getting checkmated. Now, obviously, black is threatening, to take this rook. If white takes the rook, then this is checkmate. That's the reason for knight e1. The knight defends g2. Okay. The other reason for knight e1, other than threatening the rook, is this bishop is now attacked. So queen g2 mate, rook takes f2, knight takes d3, too many threats. What's the most obvious move? I guess it's queen takes knight. I think that's the most obvious move. Now rook takes rook, threatening queen g2 checkmate and queen h2 checkmate. How do you stop both checkmates? I don't know either. Well, you can play queen g1. That defends both checkmates. But then queen f3 check. Uh-oh. And then checkmate, obviously. So after knight e1, the engine, the chess computer, says black has forced checkmate. And black has all of his pieces attacking white's basically empty king. Look at all these pieces black has. And white's pieces are over here. That's not near the white king. So a brilliant attacking game from future world champion Boris Spassky, using almost all of his pieces to attack, playing a very unusual opening and getting the position he wanted. One strange thing about this game that I notice weird things sometimes. This bishop looks like it got there in one move. Bishop b2, right? He played bishop here, bishop here, bishop here, bishop here, bishop here. Just getting the bishop to a normal square you could get to in one move. Usually when you see something like that, that player lost. Yeah, you should move your bishop every move, especially when your king is under pressure. I like that game. I hope you did too. This is Grandmaster Ben Finegold for Kid Chess. Until next time, kids. Bye, everyone.